Today we're going to be taking a look at 75378 BARC Speeder Escape. This set will be releasing on May 1st, 2024 with 221 pieces and a retail price of $30 US. And as you can see here, it includes the pretty hyped up Keller and Beck minifigure as well as two 501st Clone Troopers and Grogu, of course. Also, one thing you might notice about the box is that so far this has only been the second set released this year that does not have any type of 25th anniversary art. It's just the normal stripe art that we've been getting for the past few years. Anyways, on the back of the box, you're going to find a nice render of the set along with a few of the play features, and then actually opening up the box and digging in on the inside, you're going to find 3 numbered bags as well as your instruction manual and a sticker sheet with only 4 stickers. Taking a look at the minifigures, first up here we have the two 501st Troopers, which are technically exclusive, I'm pretty sure, because LEGO has never made just plain 501st Troopers with helmet holes. They've made ones that had printed commas and helmet attachments, but these are the first ones they've made with the helmet holes that are just plain. And speaking of the helmet holes, I don't think they're noticeable on these guys at all. I've said time and time again that the helmet holes are only noticeable to me, at least, depending on the helmet printing, and these guys have really good helmet printing that I think takes away from the helmet holes pretty well, unlike on other troopers. And then next up here we have Keller and Beck, who looks really good. He's a pretty unique character that I'm happy that LEGO decided to make because it never hurts to get more Jedi, and he also includes 2 lightsabers, which looks really cool to me because honestly I forgot that he used 2 lightsabers in the scene. And then lastly here we have the tiny Grogu minifigure. This is the same Grogu that we have been getting for a while. There's not a lot to see here. Overall, this minifigure lineup is pretty much perfect. It's every character that's in the scene that this set is based off of, and I'm really happy that we actually ended up getting 501st Troopers in this set because the original rumors said that we were going to get Shock Troopers, and Shock Troopers would have just not fit this set because they weren't even in the scene. Now moving on to the actual builds themselves, first up here we have the lamp that everyone has been memeing online, and despite the attention that is surrounding this thing, it's pretty simple. There's not much going on at all, and honestly, if anything, this was just included as a poor excuse for LEGO to bump this set up to $30 when it could have been $25. Anyways, here's the actual speeder, and I think it looks pretty good. I love the colors on it, although I think the proportions are a bit off. I think the main sort of stem on the speeder is just a bit too long, and also this area in the front with the stud shooters and the fins is just a bit too wide. It just makes the whole thing look a bit disproportional, but regardless, speaking of the front area, there are some fins here and some stud shooters that you can fire as you please, and that will shoot across the room and get lost. And then at the back, there is some nice detailing with 2 stickers that I did a pretty poor job at putting on, as well as some more fins and some nice shaping, and 2 little red transparent pieces that are supposed to represent the engines, which I think look pretty good. The sidecar is connected by these 2 hinges, which if you want allows for it to move up and down. It's not supposed to do this, but I mean it's there if you want to do it. And speaking of the sidecar itself, it also looks pretty good. As you can see, it has some nice shaping and Grogu's little pod is in there, and on the front there is another sticker as well as this curved tile piece that can slightly move forward and backwards. As you'd expect, you can put Keller and Beck in the main driver's seat and Grogu in his little pod, and it looks really cool, although unfortunately, as you can see, there's nowhere to put Keller and Beck's lightsabers, but that's not that big of a deal to me at least. Now Grogu's little pod can actually pop out, and there is this little clear transparent piece that attaches to the bottom of it so that it can sit upright and sort of appear like it's floating. I think it gives off the effect pretty well, and left behind in the sidecar is a pretty open space where if you wanted to, you can grab both of your clone troopers and actually fit them in the BARC speeder as well. And honestly, I think this looks really awesome, and they look a lot cooler in the speeder than Keller and Beck and Grogu do, although like I said, the sidecar is made for Grogu's pod, so it's just a bit too big for the clone trooper, but it doesn't look bad. Now overall, I think this is a pretty solid playset, although $30 is kind of pushing it for me at least, especially since we currently have the Clone and Droid Battle Pack on shelves right now for $30 as well, which is just a way better value. If I had to recommend one of these 2 sets, it would easily be the Clone and Droid's Battle Pack, but I mean, if you already have that set, this one is not a bad option either. I've also seen some people online mentioning army building with this set because of the 2 501st Troopers, and I have to say, for $30 and only getting 2 of these 501st Troopers, it is not a good army builder at all. I think you should strictly buy this as a playset because that's what it's meant for, and honestly, me personally, I would in no way recommend trying to army build with this unless you can find it for at least under $25, preferably around $20. Anyways, like I said, I think the speeder is a bit disproportional, and I also think $30 is pushing it just a tad bit for me at least, whereas everything else is pretty good, so I'm feeling a pretty solid 8.9 out of 10 for this set. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the screen right now. Today we're going to be taking a look at a set that I've been waiting a very long time for, being 75380 MOSP Espa Podrace Diorama. This set will be releasing on May 1st with 718 pieces and a pretty outrageous price point of $80 US. Now, as some of you might know, this set is part of celebrating the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars and the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, with a 25th anniversary LEGO Star Wars logo at the top right corner of the box and a 25th anniversary Phantom Menace logo on the left side of the box, along with a really cool rendering of the set. On the back of the box, you're going to find another angle of the build, as well as a diagram in the bottom left corner showing the dimensions of the set, and a small little picture showing the actual Podrace in the Phantom Menace. Now, actually opening up the box and digging in on the inside, you're going to find 6 numbered bags, as well as 2 loose, large tan plates, your instruction manual, and a sticker sheet with 8 stickers. In typical LEGO Star Wars 18 Plus set fashion, in the opening pages of the instruction manual, you're going to find some information about the build, in this case being the Podrace. You can pause and look at it if you want. It was a pretty fun read. Then you're going to have some cool 25th anniversary art, as well as advertising for the upcoming book, and then from there jump straight into your building process. Unfortunately, there are no minifigures in this set, which I will touch on more later, but for now, taking a look at the build, I have some good things to say about it and some not so good things to say about it. First off, I think the terrain is just absolutely incredible. They did a really good job with the rock work, especially on sort of the main wall right here, and the arch looks really good as well. It's almost like a mock builder built this, not LEGO themselves. And if you're wondering how the arch is made, you can remove the whole thing and it's connected by these 2 spinny pieces, and that's what allows it to have the angle that it has. And here is the back of the build if you're wondering what it looks like. The rockwork kind of spills over the black border of the diorama, which I think looks pretty cool. And speaking of the black border, on the front you're going to have a printed 25th anniversary brick, as well as a printed LEGO Star Wars tile and a printed diorama quote reading, "Remember, concentrate on the moment, feel, don't think, use your instincts," from Qui-Gon Jinn in the Phantom Menace. The actual floor of the terrain without the pod racers on there looks very good as well. They did a very good job at mixing the bright tan and the dark tan and creating a sort of path that the pod racers follow. And speaking of the pod racers, first up here we have Anakin's pod racer, and I think it looks really good. Towards the back here, you're going to have a stud that's supposed to represent Anakin piloting it, as well as 2 stickers on each side. And then from there, the front engine area is very detailed as well. It's pretty impressive how they were able to make this so detailed at such a small scale. Next up here, we have Sebulba's pod racer, which is way more intricate and way more detailed than Anakin's, although I still like Anakin's a bit better. Anyways, as you can see here, the engines look really good. There's some nice sticker detailing on there, as well as just lots of small pieces adding some nice detail. And just as seen on Anakin's, towards the back here, there's a little stud that's supposed to represent Sebulba. And if you're wondering how they connect to the build, there's just these transparent pin pieces on the bottom of each pod racer, and they connect onto the build at an angle that makes them look like they're actually flying, and it's pretty cool. It really does give off the effect that they're actually hovering and racing through the canyon. Now, for the most part, that was all of the stuff that's good about the build, and now let's talk about what I don't like. First is that, well, despite the terrain and the pod racers themselves both looking good, the pod racers are actually a bit too big for the terrain. In fact, Sebulba's pod racer cannot even fit underneath the arch. Obviously Anakin's can, but Sebulba's can't, and that kind of makes me really OCD. It sort of takes away from the accuracy and realism that a build like this is supposed to have, because it's supposed to seem like Sebulba's pod racer went through that arch, but in reality it can't even fit through. And then also the no-brainer and the most controversial thing about this set is the price. $80 for this is just absolutely ridiculous. LEGO really had no reason at all to make it over $70. Preferably this should have been $60 because it has 700 pieces and all of the pieces are very little 1 stud size pieces besides the ones that make up the border. So I think they might have been able to get away with 70 from some people, but in reality 60 would have been best, and 80 is just way too much. It's awful. I think the least they could have done to justify this price point was include a brand new pod racing Anakin minifigure, as well as a brand new Sebulba minifigure to stand on the side of the border and display with the set. But no, there's no minifigures, just 2 pretty small builds and some terrain for $80. Like I said, the terrain and the builds look very good, it's just not worth $80. There's no way to justify it. And actually here it is compared to the other $80 diorama set, which is also ironically very overpriced as well. And honestly, I really think the only thing the indoor speeder chase has over the pod racing one is that it actually has minifigures, and in my opinion the pod race actually has way better terrain than the indoor speeder chase. So it's really just pick your poison in this case. I would not recommend either of these dioramas for their full price of $80. I think they're both great sets, but their prices are just atrocious, although I would heavily recommend them if you could find them on sale for at least $60. Or if you're willing to spend the extra $20 at $100, you could just get the Emperor's Throne Room, which I think is leagues above these 2 other dioramas and actually worth the price. But anyways, back to just the pod racing diorama. Like I said, the price is just just atrocious. There's really no way to justify it at all. LEGO is just being very, very greedy here, and I don't like how the pod racers are just too big for the terrain. I think the terrain could have been a bit bigger, or the pod racers could have been a bit smaller, of course with a lowering of the price as well. So because of that, I'm feeling a 7.3 out of 10 for this set. I really do think it looks very good and dynamic on display. That price though is just atrocious. So let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on screen right now. Today we're going to be taking a look at 75381 Droideka. This set will be releasing on May 1st with 583 pieces and a retail price of $60 US. As you might know, this set is part of celebrating the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, as well as the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, with a little 25th anniversary LEGO Star Wars logo at the top right corner of the box, as well as a 25th anniversary Phantom Menace logo on the left side of the box, along with a pretty cool looking render of the Droideka. On the back of the box, you're going to find a nice layout of this set showing that it can roll up into a ball, as well as some cool pictures showing the Droidekas in the actual Phantom Menace movie scenes, and a little diagram that shows the dimensions of the build. Digging into the box, on the inside you're going to find 6 numbered bags, as well as your instruction manual and a sticker sheet that has quite a few stickers. Inside the instruction manual, you're going to find some cool information about the designers and some information about the Droideka itself in Star Wars that you can pause and read if you'd like to. It was a pretty fun read. Then you're going to see a cool 25th anniversary artwork on the left, as well as some advertising for this new LEGO Star Wars book that's coming out in July. Then from there, you're going to jump straight into your building process. Now, taking a look at the actual build itself, they did an outstanding job. It looks incredible. But first, I want to take a look at the plaque and the controversial minifigure scale Droideka. On the right side, you're going to find this nice little 25th anniversary brick that is in all of the 25th anniversary sets, and then you're going to have a printed display plaque showing all of the information about the Droideka in Star Wars that you can pause and read if you want. And then on the far left side, you're going to have the minifigure scale Droideka. And I have to say, it does not look near as bad as everyone is saying it does. I'm pretty sure that we all sort of know in the back of our heads that LEGO is really not going to be able to perfect a Droideka at this scale without custom molded pieces, although I have to say this one right here is one of the better ones they've made. I really do think it does look kind of good, although one downside is that it can't even begin to roll up into a ball, and another is that I think the gap between the head and the curved part is just a little bit too big. But other than those two things, I do think they did a pretty decent job at this scale. Now back to the actual full scale model itself. Again, it just looks really good. On the back here, you're going to find some stickers that I did a bad job at putting on, as well as some really nice shaping and detail representing the back sort of shell, I guess, of the Droideka. They just did a really good job. From every angle, it just looks great, and all of the Technic pins actually match the colors. There's no red or blue ones that stand out and kind of look ugly. They're all either gray or tan, which I really appreciate because it looks really good. Moving down at the top here, you're going to have what I think is probably the best aspect of this build, which is the head. If you haven't seen already, for the eyes, they actually use the LEGO lipstick pieces, which is just literally perfect because they do such a really good job at capturing that sort of weird bug-like look that the Droideka head has, and it's cool that they just thought so far out of the box to make the head look absolutely perfect. Down here in the middle, where the sort of bulk of Technic pieces are, you're going to have some plates smoothing out the front, and then all the way down there in the back, you're going to have what represents, I guess, the Droideka's abs. I didn't want to say that because someone else made that joke, but hey, they're there, and it's a pretty cool molded piece. There's also going to be these sort of fins on the back that both have stickers on them. The bottom sort of waist area where the legs connect looks really good as well. There's a good mix of light brown and dark brown pieces with some really nice shaping. Taking a look at the arms, or the guns, I guess, there's going to be a sticker at the top, and then moving down, the actual gun portion just looks really good. They just did an awesome job, and there's also this incredible function where the arms can actually pivot back and forth, just like how the Droidekas are seen in the movie when they're firing, and it looks really cool and it's really fun to play with. And here's a close-up of how it works. It's pretty simple, yet just really effective. It's a great detail. Oh yeah, and I also forgot to mention there's quite a few of these whip pieces that represent the wiring going to the arms, and it adds some really nice detail. The legs look really good too. They're very sturdy, like you can press on this as hard as you want. The legs are not going anywhere, and they're also pretty simple too. They're just held in by this one little Technic pin. Now what you guys have probably all been waiting for, which is to see how this thing actually rolls up into a ball, and inside the instructions there's there's actually some directions that tell you how you're supposed to do it. First, you have to fold these two pieces down on either arm, and then you have to fold the front half or the gun portion of the arm up on either side, then fold the whole upper half of the body down as well as the head, and then for the legs, you have to take each individual one off and then flip it upside down to where it's pointing up, and then you have your Droideka in its rolled up formation. And actually, speaking of rolling, it does not roll that very good. I mean, you could get some good ones here and there, but most of the time it just doesn't roll very good. But rolling aside, I honestly think it's very disappointing that it actually can't naturally roll up into a ball. Instead, you have to flip the legs upside down to get it to this position, and I honestly just don't like that at all. Yes, it is nice that it can roll up into a ball, but it does kind of just defeat the purpose, to me at least, that it can't naturally fold up like that. You have to flip the legs upside down, because I mean, let's be honest, nobody is going to display this set in its rolled up position. It just looks kind of ridiculous. As a feature, it's really cool, but displaying like this is just kind of dumb. It looks way better in its upright position, so I really think having it not be able to roll up naturally was kind of just a really wasted functionality that would have been really awesome. But honestly, that's the only complaint I have with this set. Again, in its upright position, it's just really good. I mean, basically perfect. I think they really got every aspect down to an absolute T, and again, even the actual Droideka minifigure does not look that bad to me, and it looks pretty good on the display plaque. This set would be a 10 out of 10 for me, but since it can't naturally roll up into a ball, which really disappoints me, I'm going to take 1 point off and go ahead and give it a 9 out of 10. Do I think this set is worth it for $60? Absolutely. This is a great value for $60, and I think it would make an incredible display piece for anyone that wants one. The fact that it can't naturally roll up into a ball though just kind of disappoints me, at least. Let me know what you guys think about this set down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now. Today we're going to be taking a look at 75382 TIE Interceptor. This set just released on May 1st, 2024 with 1,931 pieces and a retail price of $230, which is actually surprisingly a $10 markdown from the $240 UCS X-Wing from last year. And as you guys might know, this set is part of celebrating the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, hence the 25th anniversary logo at the top right corner of the box. Also with the bright metallic blue stripe at the bottom, which I think looks really good. On the left side of the box, you're going to have a nice clean render of the set from a top-down view, and then on the back of the box you're going to have another render of the set at a different angle, as well as some pictures showing its play features, an image of the battle over Endor from Return of the Jedi, and a small diagram that shows its dimensions. Now actually digging into the box and opening it up, on the inside you're going to find 22 separately numbered bags, as well as your instruction manual and a very big sticker sheet inside this cardboard case, and then the printed plaque, which I will touch on more later. On the front of the instruction manual you're going to have a top-down view render of the ship, and then in typical UCS set fashion, in the first few pages you're going to have a pretty interesting read about the actual ship and about the LEGO set itself, with the first few pages being some background about the TIE Interceptor with some really awesome artwork, as you can see here, especially there on the left, and then it notes the original version of the UCS TIE Interceptor from back in 2000 and the same designer that designed both of these sets 24 years apart. Then some info about this specific model and a page that's again like the UCS X-Wing showing us how we're supposed to hold the set. Then you're going to have your 25th anniversary art as well as advertising for the book, and then straight from there you're going to jump straight into your building process. Here we have the one lone minifigure in this set being the TIE pilot, and he looks just about as high quality as a UCS minifigure should look. He's got great printing on the front and the back, and then obviously he has arm printing. Unfortunately, I don't have the TIE pilot from the 2015 TIE Fighter, or I would compare the two, but just know that this one looks very solid, just like you would expect for a UCS minifigure. And accompanying him is actually a mouse droid, which looks good. I mean, it's just a pretty simple mouse droid, but I think it's a bit unnecessary, which I will touch on more later. Now here's the actual UCS TIE Interceptor itself, and I have to say, for the most part, it looks really good. It's a very good display piece like a UCS set should be, and I also really like the position that it sits at on the stand, because it's kind of a nod to the original UCS TIE Interceptor from 2000. Now like I said, the set does look good for the most part, but my main issues, like everyone else, is around the cockpit area. Yes, there's gaps, but I'll get to those in a second. My main problem is that the wing pylons themselves are a bit too tall, or in other words, they come up to the very top of the cockpit when they're not supposed to. If you look at actual reference images of the TIE Interceptor, you can very clearly see that the wing pylons don't go all the way to the top of the actual ball of the cockpit, and on this set they do, and it kind of makes it just look a bit lumpy and off to me. Again, like on the reference photos, the cockpit and the wing pylons look like two separate pieces, with the cockpit almost being a perfect sphere, but in this model it all looks like one piece, because because the wing pylons are just too tall and it doesn't look that great. The whole center area generally just looks like one big lump. And then like I said, yes, there are a few gaps at the top and the bottom of the windscreen, which are noticeable, but they're not near as big of an issue to me at least as the wing pylons are. But shaping aside, the actual detailing on this middle area is extremely well done. As you can see here on the front, there's actually controller pieces on each side to just add some detail, as well as the two middle laser cannons, which actually have red transparent pieces just barely sticking out of them, which I think is really awesome because it semi-simulates that it's actually firing its lasers. And then if you couldn't tell already, yes, that windscreen is a printed piece. You're also going to have some very well done detailing on the back of the Model 2, with two Technic cylinder pieces back here that are supposed to represent the twin ion engines themselves. And then on top, you're going to have a printed hatch piece that looks really good like you'd expect. And of course, it can fold open, and despite the hatch being printed, the interior is not printed. As you can see here, it's very complex and detailed, yet polluted with stickers. They do make for great detail and a really cool looking interior, but the actual building process was just such a pain and very tedious to do this, and I don't appreciate it for a UCS set. Anyways, that aside, if you want, you can try to put your TIE pilot in here, but after all, it is a oversized UCS set, so there's really no point, and if you do put him in here, he is pretty hard to get back out. The actual connection points of the pylons to the wings looks very nice. It's very detailed, and I think they did a great job, and there's also just a lot of detail on the inside of the wings in general. As you can see here, they really went out of their way to make this very detailed when I would have expected them to just leave it as the bottom of the plates. The targeting sensors look really good as well. As you can see here, they actually use shovel pieces, which I think is really unique and adds for awesome detail. And then the main laser cannons on the tips of the wings look very good too. I think they're designed very well, and I always love how on these TIE Interceptors, the laser cannons just barely stick out from the edge of the wing. It just looks cool to me. And then continuing on with the wings, of course, the outsides of them just look very good. I mean, I'm sure we all love the TIE Interceptor for its really iconic wing shape, and LEGO just blew it out of the water here. It looks just as mean and aggressive as a TIE Interceptor should look. And up close towards the back of them, there's lots of very nice detail. And one thing I really appreciate is that, as you can see here, they're connected by hinges, which is very nice because they come on and off very easily, when in the past, some of the TIE Fighter wing designs have been very complex and complicated for no reason. The way it sits on the stand is very simple. You can easily just lift it up, and this is what the bottom of it looks like. There's just a hole for the stand to go into. And speaking of the stand itself, like all recent UCS sets, is very minimal and looks great. On the front, you're going to have the plaque that you can pause and read if you want, but actually diving into the plaque, I'm sure you've seen on other people's videos that it's actually sort of glossy now, and not really the same as the previous printed UCS plaques. And I have to say, yeah, like other people, I don't really like it either. I don't like how reflective it is because it creates pretty bad glares, and mine's not very dirty because I wiped it off, but yeah, it does get fingerprints very easily. Here it is compared to the Venator plaque, and I think the Venator plaque looks a lot cleaner and a lot better, and it doesn't get dirty with fingerprints either. Like you'd expect, yes, the TIE Pilot does have a place to sit on the stand and it looks good, but what doesn't look good is how you're supposed to sit the mouse droid and the 25th anniversary brick on the stand as well. To me at least, it just makes the whole front of the stand look very crowded, and I don't like all of that on there. I think it looks best to just display it with the pilot on the stand and then have the 25th anniversary bricks sit off to the side, and then just leave the mouse droid out. Hence why I said earlier, I think it's just kind of unnecessary. Now here's what I'm sure some of you guys have been waiting for, which is the comparison of the TIE Interceptor to the X-Wing from last year. And first of all, I have to say, they look absolutely incredible when they are on display next to each other. It is such an incredible combo, although I really can't objectively figure out which one is better. I personally favor the X-Wing just a little bit more because I think they did a better job on the shaping than they did with the TIE Interceptor, obviously, how I mentioned with the pylons and everything. But objectively, they're both very good sets, and if you want a good UCS set and don't want to spend $600, $700, $800 on the big ones, both of these are great options, although there is actually one thing the X-Wing has over the TIE Interceptor, for me at least, and that's that it can actually fit on its stand at different angles, and you can put it sideways to where it looks like it's swooping down low to the ground, and I think that's absolutely incredible. I love displaying it on its side like this. It looks so good, and the TIE Interceptor can't really do this. It can sort of sit on the side of its stand, as you can see here, although it's not really made to, because this bottom wing will sort of budge up to the bottom of the stand and on the ground, so really you're not supposed to do this. It works better with the X-Wing, but you can do it with this set if you want to. But still, they're both incredible sets, only a $10 difference. If you want a $200 UCS set or a cheaper UCS set in general, I would heavily recommend either one of these. I guess it just comes down to if you'd rather have an Imperial set or a Rebel set. But back to just the TIE Interceptor itself, like I said, for the most part, it looks great. My only problem is just the wing pylons being too tall and how the cockpit just looks like one big blob when it's not supposed to, and not to mention the ridiculous amount of stickers on the inside of the cockpit. But the shaping and detailing of the wings really does kind of make up for that, and I also think $230 in today's world is a great deal for this set. So because of that, I'm feeling an 8.7 out of 10. I really wanted to give it a 9 out of 10, but it just didn't feel right because of the wing pylons, so I'm bumping it down to 8.7, which is still in the end a very good rating. So let me know what you guys think about this set down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the screen right now. Today we're going to be taking a look at 75383 Darth Maul's Sith Infiltrator. This set will be releasing on May 1st with 640 pieces and a retail price of $70 US. As you might know, this set is part of celebrating the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, with a logo shown down here at the bottom left corner of the box, as well as an exclusive 25th anniversary Saw Gerrera minifigure. The other 3 figures included in this set is the first Episode 1 Darth Maul that we have gotten since 2017, and the first Qui-Gon Jinn that we have gotten since 2017, so it's been a while since LEGO has made these characters. And then as you see, we also get young Anakin Skywalker. Also, I've talked about this time and time again, but I just love this new metallic blue color for the 25th anniversary sets. It's just great. It's some of the best box art that we have had in a very long time. On the back of the box, you're going to find another render of this set along with all the features, and one thing you might have noticed about this box is that for $70, it's actually fairly small, like really small actually. Here it is compared to a $30 set, and you can tell that it's not much bigger, and even more so, here it is compared to what a $70 box looked like back in 2018. You can see that it basically just absolutely dwarfs it, and I get that LEGO is trying to save on unused space inside of their boxes, but at the same time, the smaller boxes just make the sets not as exciting to get, in my opinion. Enough talking about the box though, let's actually dig in, and on the inside, you're going to find 7 numbered bags, as well as your instruction manual, and surprisingly, no sticker sheet, which is always a nice thing to see. Taking a look at the instructions, on the front, you're just going to have a render of the set, and then you're going to have some 25th anniversary art, and then from there you're going to jump straight into your building process. Onto the minifigures. First up here we have a brand new young Anakin Skywalker. It's a pretty simple figure, but I think they did a great job with the printing on the front and the back, and he's also got a really fun double-sided face. Next up we have Qui-Gon Jinn, who surprisingly actually has a physical cloth poncho piece, and it looks absolutely incredible. I think LEGO just blew it out of the water with this, and underneath the poncho you're going to find great torso printing and incredible leg printing, as well as really good back printing under the poncho too. He's also got a double-sided face, with the second face being sort of an angry face, and one thing I noticed about this face is that down there at the bottom around his beard, he's actually got some gray hairs down there, which add for some awesome detail. I'm not sure if it's on any of the older Qui-Gon Jinns, but it's on this one and it looks really good. Then next up here we have one of the most controversial figures of this set, being Darth Maul. And no, he does not have pupils, which has been very controversial in the community, and yes, I'm a sucker for accuracy, and obviously having pupils would have made him more accurate, but I actually don't think he looks bad without the pupils at all. In fact, despite it being blatantly inaccurate, I actually think it looks more menacing and more aggressive than it would if he actually had pupils on him. So in that case, for me, the pupils are kind of just take it or leave it. Although one crucial thing he is missing is his hood and his cape. I really don't understand why they did not include that. It's pretty disappointing. And then lastly, we have another very controversial minifigure, being the 25th anniversary Saw Gerrera. This is the first time that LEGO has ever made Saw Gerrera, and he looks absolutely incredible. He's got extremely detailed printing all over his legs, all over his torso. Even his shoulder piece actually has printing on the side of it, which just kind of surprised me. It looks really well, and he's also got this really awesome printed cape that just adds even more detail, and then underneath the cape there's even more printing on his back. And despite this figure looking really good, there is one blatant issue with him, and that is that he's green for some reason. I mean, like I said, he looks good, but he's not supposed to be green, and honestly this confuses me. I have no idea what version of Saw Gerrera that LEGO based this figure off of. Obviously he's not green in Rogue One, he's not green in Rebels, and he's not green in Jedi Fallen Order. I genuinely do not understand where LEGO got the idea to make him green from, but that's what they did. It doesn't look bad, but it's just inaccurate, and I think it would have been better if he was all gray or all black. And like all the other anniversary figures, he does come with this this printed plaque that you can sit him on, and comes with a 2x4 plate that you can connect to the other 25th anniversary figures. For the most part, all these minifigures are really good, although for $70, I feel like these 4 figures is just not enough. To make it more complete, I really feel like LEGO should have thrown in the blue version of Padme just to make it feel like you were actually getting $70 worth of stuff, but they didn't, and we only get 4 figures, which is kind of disappointing. And then on top of that, the build itself does not feel like it's worth $70 either. Now, the first thing you might notice is how far it actually leans forward when it's in its landing position. The landing gear is retractable on both sides, which is pretty cool, but I do not like how far it leans down when it is in its landing position. I think the landing gear could have been extended a little bit further and it would have been perfect, but no, it looks kind of awkward because it just leans down so far. Anyways, from the top down, the front does look pretty good. It's very sleek and they did a pretty good job on the shaping. Right here towards the front, there are these 2 tiles that just look like they're just normal pieces, but when you press them down, they actually fire the spring-loaded shooters, which is really cool to me. When I was building these, I had no idea what they were for, but at the end, when I put the spring-loaded shooters in, it was pretty cool. And they're hidden in there very well. You can't even tell they're spring-loaded shooters on the inside. This piece on the top can also open to reveal 3 of the Sith probe droids, and they're pretty simple builds, but they do look good and they do get the job done. But there's also this feature where they can actually fall out of the bottom. As you can see here, there is this little piece that you can slide. If you see, it's just barely sliding when I move my thumb, and when you're holding it flat and you slide that piece out, the bottom door will actually swing open and the probe droids will fall out, which I think is a really fun play feature with a pretty cool mechanism that they designed for it. Now, like I said, when you're looking at the front from the top down, it does look pretty good, but it starts to really go downhill when you look at it directly from the side. To me at least, this area is just way too thick. In universe, the Sith Infiltrator is a very sleek ship, and I just don't really think LEGO captured that here, at least for the front portion. It could have easily been at least 2 plates thinner, even with the probe droids on the inside. As you can see here, they don't even come close to going to the top. There's definitely enough room there for it to have been at least 2 plates thinner, but no, this front middle section is just really bulky and thick, and I don't think it looks as good as it could. Also, if you're wondering what the bottom looks like, here it is. There's not much to see down here, just the mechanism for the probe droids. Now, despite the front portion not being as good as it could, the back portion looks incredible. There's lots of really good detail at the sides here, where it sort of transitions from the front portion to the wings, and also some nice red transparent pieces that make it look like this actually is a cockpit. And speaking of the cockpit, this top panel piece is actually printed, and it looks really good. The back looks nice as well, with lots and lots of tiles, adding for some really awesome detail and some awesome shaping. And directly at the back, there are 2 little green transparent pieces that are supposed to represent the engines. They're small, but they do get the job done. Now, the whole back portion can actually open up in quite a few different areas to reveal Darth Maul's speeder, which looks really good. It's just tan and brown and a very simple design, but it looks good, and I like it. And as you'd expect, you can grab Darth Maul and sit him on here as well. There aren't any studs, so you have to make him hold on to the handles. The inside of the cockpit is fairly simple. There's just a printed control panel and some other pieces in there adding for a little bit of detail, and then there are 2 clips on either side to be able to hold his double-bladed lightsaber, and then you can actually take Darth Maul on his speeder and slide him back in here, and he fits. There is some minor detailing on the sides of the wings, which looks pretty decent, and as you'd expect, all 4 wings can open up to its flying position, and let me tell you, when it's in its flying position, it does look really good. It's a great display piece if you have a stand like I have here, and also it's just really fun to play with. It's got great swooshability. Now, like I pointed out throughout the video, this set definitely does have its highs and its lows. All the minifigures that are included are very good, besides Saw Gerrera being green for no reason, which does get on my nerves. And again, I wish it did include Padme, because these 4 figures just don't feel like enough for a $70 set, and I know LEGO claims they have reasons to not make Watto anymore. If you know, you know. I'm not going to go into depth explaining. So Padme really would have completed this set for me at least. It would have made it feel like it was actually worth the $70. That combined with the issues that I pointed out on the actual ship, with the front portion being too thick and the landing gear making it lean too far forward, is making me feel a pretty generous 8.5 out of 10 for this set. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the end screen right now. Today we're going to be taking a look at 40686 Trade Federation Troop Carrier. If you didn't know, this set is actually this year's May 4th LEGO Star Wars GWP, which means gift with purchase. So basically, there's only 2 ways to obtain this set. The first way is to be a LEGO Insider, which is free to sign up for, and go on LEGO's website or to an official LEGO store. It can't be anywhere else. And you have to spend at least $160 on just LEGO Star Wars sets, and by doing that, you will get this set for free as a gift with purchase. Oh, and not Not to mention, this only runs between May 1st and May 4th, so at the time of me recording this video, you only have about a day and a half left to do this. Or you can go ahead and buy it on the aftermarket, where it's already going for an average price of about $50. Now, do I think this is a good option for a GWP? No, not at all, but I'll talk about that more later. If you didn't know, this set is part of celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace with a 25th anniversary Phantom Menace logo at the top right of the box, as well as the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars with a 25th anniversary logo for that at the bottom of the box. Also, I know you guys have heard me say this time and time again, but man, this 25th anniversary box art just looks so good, especially on this set in particular. I think it's probably my favorite one. I love the green Naboo landscape combined with the brown droid carrier and then the metallic blue. It just all looks so nice together. But actually opening up the box and digging in on the inside, you're going to find 3 numbered bags, as well as a loose 2x14 plate and your instruction manual. And speaking of the instruction manual, on the front you're going to have a pretty cool render of the set, and then right on the inside you're going to have some artwork for the 25th anniversary of LEGO Star Wars, then jump straight into your building process. As for the minifigures go, first up here we have the Battle Droid pilots. There's not much to see here. These are the same Battle Droid pilots that we have been getting for quite a while. I'm pretty sure they were introduced in the early 2010s. And then on top of that, you're going to get 6 normal B1 Battle Droids. We all know what these look like. There's not a lot to see here, but hey, it's nice to get an army of them. Now here's the build itself, and it looks really good. It's an all brown, which I really like. It's sort of a nod to the original one from back in 2000 or 2001 maybe, I forgot. And then you're also going to get the printed 25th anniversary brick that has been coming in a lot of the sets recently. On the front right here, this guard piece can move up and down just a little bit, and there's also this sort of headlight on the left side that can also move up and down. And as you'd expect, you can grab both of your Battle Droid pilots and sit them in there right behind each other, and they do look really good up here in the front, sort of piloting the droid carrier. On the back here, as for the droid rack goes, the whole thing can actually slide out, and then here's what the remaining carrier looks like without the rack on it. Pretty bland, but it doesn't look bad. And if you're wondering how it works, as you can see here, there's just those green pieces on the edge of the droid rack that can just slide into the droid carrier. And speaking of those green pieces, I'm not sure why they're green. It's kind of random and doesn't look great when you actually slide the rack out, but hey, maybe that's just me. But the rest of the rack looks good, and you can actually fold the sides down like you see here. There's not really a use for this, but hey, you can do it if you want to. And then to load the actual battle droids, you just take them and fold them up into this position right here, and then you sit them on the sides of the rack. And then you can take their blasters and sit them on the front right above that green part that I was just talking about, and then go ahead and slide your rack back onto the droid carrier. And I have to say, the droids do look sort of goofy in this position on the rack, but it doesn't bother me that much. But I did see a lot of people online talking about it. Although overall, I think it looks really good with the 2 pilots in the front and the droids in the back. It's a great little build. The only problem I have with the build itself is this gap right here between the guns and the actual front of the droid carrier. It just looks kind of weird to me, and also it kind of gives off the appearance that the droid rack is not fully slid into its position, even though it is. And also it causes for very slight sagging of the droid rack. It's extremely hard to notice, a very small nitpick on my end, but it's there. But overall, this set looks really good, and I would love to army build with it if it wasn't a GWP. And like I showed on the aftermarket, it's going for around $35 to $50, which is definitely a fair price. I think if LEGO released it, it would go for about $30, so $35 isn't terrible. But the bad thing is that the set has only been out for 2 days, so the price on the aftermarket is just gonna inevitably keep on going up, which really sucks because I really like this set, and I know there's a lot of people that aren't gonna be able to really get it with that $160 threshold or its price on the aftermarket, which is just unfortunate and why I don't think this was a good option for a GWP. And no, I'm not in any way saying that GWPs can't be good sets. I'm saying that they shouldn't be sets that sort of had high demands, because we've all been wanting LEGO to make Trade Federation stuff for forever, and they finally have in this set, and it's really good, although it's just locked behind this price wall that I don't think is really fair. I think a way better option for a GWP could have been some type of Duel of Fate set, and it also would have just fit the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace a lot better, or maybe even a set like the Podrace diorama right here, although obviously scaled down to be around $30 or $40. But instead we got this set, which on its own, like I've said multiple times, is really good. I just don't think it's very fair for a set like this to be a GWP. I think it should have been something a bit more niche, like the Podrace diorama, or maybe like a Duel of Fate set. But GWP talk aside, the set itself is great. I'm gonna give it a 9.4 out of 10. Like I said, the only problem is that small gap between the rack and the front of the droid carrier. Everything else is great, and I really hope that you guys can get your hands on this set. That being said, let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. If you're new, please consider subscribing, and if you want to check out more of my videos, you can see them on the screen right now.